Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 7 of the Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Mastermind event. Just looking at the number of folks who have joined today's call, it's a pretty esteemed group. I'm truly humbled that the quality of elite performers that are on this call are dedicating the time to go through this educational experience together. So thank you for taking time and trusting us. One of my goals at today's mastermind is to have an unprecedented amount of interaction from the audience. While we do have some great, call it leaders, who have been through the Insane Productivity program, we've got Coach Todd Bookspan, who's going to be co-facilitating this with me. Hey, Coach, you here, brother?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing?
We're doing great. For those of you who are new or don't know, Todd has been through this program a number of times. We also have Dave Gallegos as the leader, who's been through this program a number of times and who's created a video that's part of the mortgage content. And then we have Jen DuPlessis, who's also been through this program a number of times and who's created a couple videos that are part of the program. So Dave and Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Right on. So what I want to do is I want to kick off this call starting with, asking everybody who's joined it questions, and we're going to ask you what are discussion topics you'd like to cover today. Now, when we unmute you and you share a discussion topic, we're not necessarily just going to jump on it. We're going to stack the deck with, no more than 5, but, let's try to get 3 good discussion topics that come from you, the audience. Any questions that you have, you can either raise your hand and ask them out loud, or you can post them in question section of the GoToWebinar control panel. So either raise your hand or, and say them out loud, or post them, and myself and Todd will be reading those. And then we also want to start the call with some success stories. We've been doing this for a number of weeks now, so we would love to hear someone who's like, hey, I'm going through the program, and I'm less ADD, and I'm multitasking less. Any success stories that anybody wants to share. We really want to start the first 15 minutes with a combination of discussion topics and success stories. So Todd, I'm going to mute myself, hand it off to you, and if you could kind of stack the deck with topics, and let's get to a couple success stories.
All right, perfect. Super excited to see a lot of new faces on the call as well, and so let's go along with Dave's theme of you guys giving us some discussion topics. So I see some familiar faces and some folks that I don't know, but I'm going to start calling on people. Hopefully unmute yourself, and then we will hear what you have to say, what you'd like to have us take a look at today. So I know Michael Barnes, the local Phoenician here, you've been dying to get on this call. What would you love to discuss today, Michael?
Good to hear your voice. Thanks for having me. I'm just here to soak it up. I had a chance to see any of the material yet because I have been having challenges to get on. So I'm here to listen today.
All right, perfect. We will. We can definitely facilitate that, make that happen. How about you, Danny Horiani? You always have some great ideas. What's on your mind today?
I'm just curious how everybody was able to distill the value assessment if you finished through the Module 6 down to just 3. I had a really hard time figuring out how to make that happen.
Cool. All right, I like that. That's a great one. One thing to preface, right, we've got a large number of people who are on this call for the first or second time who might only be through Module 1 or Module 2, and we've also got the initial group that had started back 6 weeks ago who are already on Module 7. There's no spoilers in this program, so if we're talking about something that's ahead of where you are all at, no need to worry. We'll be able to dial in on that, and if you're only in Module 1 or 2 and what you want to discuss is around those modules, then let's have you raise your hand and jump in with that, if that sounds fair.
Hey,
of course,
Todd, real quick, hey, I want to jump in. Someone is not controlling their mute. Folks, we want to make this super interactive, but every single person, if you are on the call and you've got to control your mute, or we have to mute everybody. So please control, if you have your own phone that has a mute, mute it, and you can also control the mute in GoToMeeting. But please, it's essential that everybody controls their own mute so we don't have to mute everybody. Go ahead, Todd.
Perfect, perfect. And I will, you know, I'm okay with the awkward pause when I call on you. I'm definitely going to expect that if you've self-muted, it may take you a moment to get your phone screen back where it needs to be to get it to unmute. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't call on my good friend Lori Richardson to hear as a first-time attendee what you're hoping to talk about today. There's that awkward pause I was talking about. All right, while Lori figures that one out, how about you, Michelle Town? I know you've been an active participant, and we missed each other, but we were both at the Building of Champions experience this week. So what's on your mind? All right, well, having a little longer awkward pauses than I was expecting, making it a little more awkward. How about anyone who is listening, since we've got people unmuted? Go ahead and is anyone willing to volunteer without me calling on them?
Hi, Todd. I think we have Lori that's back and ready to go ahead and share.
There we go. Wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, guys. So, Todd, tell me your question again because I had a glitch with my system.
That's all right. That's all right. We're just looking for topics of discussion today. Is there anything that's on your mind with regards to insane productivity that you would like to have as part of our topics today?
I guess really just kind of drilling down on the power of focus. The hardest thing for me is knowing that when I say yes to something good, I'm saying no to something great. And I just constantly need adult supervision in that area, so that's on my mind.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. I definitely think there's probably some other folks feeling the same way. Anyone else who's unmuted who wants to jump in and give a suggestion before I just take off running with the topics that we have?
Todd, I'd like to. This is
Jump on in. Great.
A lot of the reason I'm doing this is because I'm building a team and expanding business without hopefully working more. So what I'd love to know is how other originators are doing that and implementing this information.
Great. Great topic. You know, because that's, you know, what I love about what Dave has done. What I love about what Dave has done and teaming up with Darren is that it gives us all the ability to take great content that Darren has had tens of thousands of people go through and allows us all to put the mortgage spin on it. Really, how does this not just affect us personally, but how does it affect us as mortgage originators? So I think that one is terrific. Any other last topics before we jump on in?
So real quick, I also want to encourage anyone who feels like you've experienced some success since doing the program to highlight any of that success. So folks, remember there's a couple things you can do. You can either raise your hand in the GoToMeeting control panel and we can unmute you if you are muted, or you can post that in chat and Marcy will bring it in between questions and comments. So does anybody have a success story, something that's just going better for you now? Anyone? Danny? Anyone?
Hey, Dave, and this is Mark Thompson.
Hey, Mark.
And I'm not sure if this is a success story, but I'm just on Module 1, just started Module 2 last night. And I guess in front of everybody, I have to wholeheartedly admit that I guess I am officially addicted to social media, and I am in the category of a coffee fiend. So I'm not quite addicted, it's medically certain, but I'm oftentimes on a path to be able to do so, which was doing that little survey, and the first one was quite enlightening. I actually did it with my wife as well. I hope Darren doesn't mind that I shared that. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting aspect to kind of see where we were at and how I do interact with social media and how I do interact with technology. And I can honestly say for the last 4 or 5 days, I've been definitely a lot more conscious of that urge to pick up the phone or to do something. So it's definitely, at this point, just allowed me to just pause and analyze where I'm at. And that was somewhat enlightening so far.
That was an awesome share, and I think we're all there. Anybody else have something to share?
Dave, yeah, it is actually Danny. Wanted to just share that from a teamwork perspective, taking some of the strategies to just block out your time and really hyper-focus on the high-impact activities that I really should have been doing a lot more of in the week has been a massive game changer. And for the people that have gotten through the jam session and just shutting your door and setting boundaries, it's just a massive win.
That's awesome, Danny. Thanks for sharing, brother. And again, just a reminder to everybody to control your mute. And also, some folks, like you may be turned on through your computer, so your computer mic is working, but you're actually on your phone. So make sure that if you're on your phone, within the Go to Webinar control panel, you've got the phone button clicked. And if you're not on the phone, make sure the computer button is clicked. So I think, we're 12 minutes into this. We've already got a few great topics, a few great success stories. Any other success stories or questions before we just start going through the topics? Anyone else?
We do have a question from Scott Morris. He has a technical question for the group regarding productivity. He was wondering who follows up getting the borrower and borrowers to sign the e-consent form, the e-disclosures, and the CD. You or one of your assistants, or do you have a streamlined system better than Encompass that provides for this issue?
Great. Todd, let's put that under the category of just, delegation and some of the topics we've had, from a mortgage-specific standpoint. I also know, Todd, there was a question, I can't remember exactly what it was from last week, that Michelle Town threw out. Jen tried to address it with like a minute left to go on the call. Let's try to get into that. So, Todd, I'll hand it off to you to go through the topics, and let's feel free to add more topics as we go, everybody, and let's get started. Todd?
Perfect. So, again, I think it's always difficult on a mastermind where you can't see each other. No one can physically raise their hands. You can't see body language. So, two ways to jump in. If you're scared to talk over somebody else, which of course I would just say if you've got questions or concerns, just jump right in, and don't worry about it. We'll sort it out here. Or if you have or you can raise your hand within the go-to meeting system, which I see Michelle Town has her hand raised. So before I jump in, let's get your feedback. Jump in, Michelle. Michelle, do we have you?
Michelle has herself on mute. Okay, can you hear me?
Now we can. Good morning.
Yay! I don't know. I'm terrible with this computer crap. First of all, Todd, I'm sorry I missed you, and Dave, I didn't get to see you either. I'm like literally, I don't know how you guys are functioning today. I'm exhausted from just delving into. I'm super razor focused though on where my business is going and where my personal life is going. I have had amazing success with the multitasking. I encourage everybody to not multitask. You get so much more work done, and I know it's so difficult, but I'm also having great success at, what Jen says is being in demand instead of on demand. I really practiced this last week. I was gone, and I would say 90% of the realtors I work with are totally okay with, that I was gone. They were I had my team members that were able to help me when I was gone. We did have a couple of challenges yesterday, and with the help of a lot of other people that were around me, I was able to manage the expectations, and set some real priorities. I did lose a deal, but it didn't crush me that I lost that deal. I don't want to work with that if they can't understand that I can't write a pre-qual letter without getting borrower's items. It's not, and it's okay with me, and that is huge growth for me.
Oh, that's great. I always think it's the biggest thing is saying no to the right people, which I always think is such a challenge. But yeah, good for you. Good for you for unplugging, because it was a great 3 days up there on the weekend tonight. Yes, I am exhausted too, but happy to be here on the call. Anyone else before I jump in? I love what Danny asked. So those of you who completed Module 7 and completed the homework, it was to work on the values assessment, and there's whatever 100 different values there, plus any other ones that you can come up with on your own. Danny, you said you had troubles narrowing yours down to 3, or were you able to actually do that?
No, I haven't actually finished getting it all the way down to 3. I'm narrowing it. I started off with like 90, but I think that I maybe was just over ambitious.
So what are your top couple of values that you picked out?
Significance is definitely one. I mean, we've talked about that a few other times. Teamwork and loyalty are definitely in there. Passion. And then a bunch of categories that fall under just general, comfort, happiness, fun, that all the things that are kind of the result of what we're after. So I mean, there's just so many on the list.
Yeah, I would think it's always an interesting one, and one of the things that we worked on where Michelle, Dave, and I were at the experience was we call them convictions, and getting that down. Most people got down to 5 or 6, so I wouldn't necessarily be over stressed on that. Anyone else here who actually did the values assessment who can speak into that and maybe help Danny out?
I can. This is Jen. So Danny, I would just let the 6 or 7 that you have stay there, because over time, as you go back, hopefully you're going back through these modules, on a regular basis, just regrouping and going back through them. Over time, the ones that are most important will start resonating with you. So you said fun and happy. When you think about those, you think, do I want everything to be fun? Is fun, a major conviction for me that everything has to be fun? And if everything doesn't have to be fun, that's probably not one of your true values. It's nice, it's great when we can have fun, but it's probably not a conviction. Or a main principle. So I think you can, over time, start isolating those down into, something a little more manageable for you. I know that I went through the process. I had 31 values, and I knocked it down to 19. And then I knocked it down to, I think it was 8 or 9, and now I'm down to 3 or 4. But I still have that extra one there because I haven't figured out which one which one is truly not a principle or a value for me. And keep them in front of you throughout the day as you're going through the day. If you're journaling, and I journal, if you're journaling, you'll be able to identify those even better as you dig deeper into this whole process. So don't be concerned that you have many of them. Just work with them and really go back and assess whether or not those individual items are really that important to you. And I think you'll get through it fine. I think everybody who has done this is probably in the same situation, where they have many to choose from. So I would just say don't worry about it, but don't just write them down and say, okay, there they are. Go back to them frequently and see if it really does have an impact for you.
Yeah,
I think
Danny. Oh, Todd, go ahead. I do have something to add to it.
Jump in, Dave.
Well, I have a business coach, but a business coach helped me, years ago when coming up with company values. And let's face it, whether it's your personal, your why and the values that drive you in life, whether it's your mortgage why and the values that drive you as a mortgage professional, or values that drive a team or a company. There's different values. And she gave me some advice because I was having trouble breaking it down to I wanted to get it down to 3. And it was is it a value that you'd fire someone over? If it's not something that you would literally, either not hire someone or terminate someone over that value, then, it's not one of your top values. I would encourage you and everybody on the call to get it down, because, if you have too many, you really can't make decisions if you've got 6 values, 8 values. I don't want to say you have none, but you don't have the kind of values that are truly going to be beacons to guiding your decisions. So, I mean, I give just my own personal opinion. I think it's really important to get it down to a number of 3 or 4. I always think of 4 as kind of like corners of a sandbox, so that you literally these are the sandbox of values. But 3 is the less the better. But yes, everybody struggles with this, and it's okay to change those values as you're going through this exercise. But I would really try to get it down. Hope that was helpful, Danny.
Yeah, great advice, guys.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Michelle here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the other thing that helped me, and probably just because we just went through this, was really ask yourself, the question of, in 10, 15, 20, 30 years, what is it that's important to you? Or something that helped us in the event was, if you could quit your job today, what would you want left? That is your conviction. That is, what is so important to you that you want everybody to remember about you, either personally or business-wise, and maybe that will help. I'm not sure. That helped me a lot, though.
That's really good. I like that a lot. And by the way, I see Andy McDowell with Home Street on the call. He's one of the co-heads of production of an incredibly values-driven organization. Andy, I don't know if you're hearing this or if you can unmute, but I would love to hear you comment on this because you've been leading from a values perspective for a long time, and you do it really well. Andy?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with breaking it down to just a couple of values, and the two values that we drive home every day and allow us to make easier decisions are our customers come first and our employees are our greatest assets. And everybody, even if it's a new hire, through the interview process, we talk about those two values, and it really does help us to clarify when we're in the middle of chaos and stress and emotion. If you have an underwriter, a processor, a funding manager, or whomever trying to rally around a file or a scenario, we're always looking at how is this going to impact the customer first. And then obviously you have to honor the regulations and the laws, but if we think about the customer first, it makes it easier.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, that kind of brings up another point, I think. While in this exercise with the Say Productivity, we're coming around, what are our three values, as a human being, But I think it's important that you really take that same exercise after, and whether you do it at the same time or separate, but literally there is a separate exercise where it's like, what are my three values as a mortgage professional? I know what created Mortgage Coach was one of my three values was advice. And I actually, my slogan as a mortgage professional was my advice makes a difference. And that was, one of three core values that I had. The other value was wow. I believed in just surpassing people's expectations, whether they were internal team members or whether they were external clients and prospects. And really, those two values are what drove me to found Mortgage Coach, because advice was a cornerstone as a mortgage professional. Wow was a cornerstone to who I was, and there's Mortgage Coach. I wanted to make sure that I surpassed people's expectations at the point of sale, and that led to the total cost analysis. And I wanted to do it in a way that made advice tangible and obvious. So I do recommend, it's almost adding a double exercise here. What are your three values as a human being, and what are your three values as a mortgage professional? Anybody that goes through this exercise, I would love it if you would share what your values were. It would be great to know not only your values as a human being, but your values as a mortgage professional. Todd, any thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with you, and I oftentimes find that they transcend each other between business and personal. A lot of them, the honesty, the integrity, some of the ones that you see oftentimes that most of the folks that you hang around with that are like-minded all tend to share. And so I do think that there are times where you definitely have them where they're totally separate. So and I was coaching a realtor through this, and she was really struggling between what it was that how she felt as a broker owner of a large national franchise, and then how she felt as when she was working with her clients. And so she did just what you said, Dave. She made a list for both, and then ultimately we got her to merge the two together. And it was really a great exercise for her, and she was really excited with the outcome.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, and that's probably what Dan has going on right now, is that all of the principles and values that you have listed are going to fit into those categories. That's why I recommend not to, and and Dave Savage, I'm not to disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you that it should be ironed down. I'm just saying that it's okay if you've got a handful of them as you're trying to iron them down, but you need to look at them and apply them on a daily basis to see if they really truly are your convictions, or if they're just words that you think are your line of business or your personal beliefs.
Absolutely, Jim. No,
that's what you're going through. Yeah.
I totally get that. I'm just, the comment I'm making is that literally everybody's got their 20, everybody's got their 10, everybody's got their 5, and until you get to 3 or 4, I would just say you're not done. You have not done this exercise. But hey, Andy, did you want to add on to that? I thought you jumped in again.
Yeah, I just think it's important for people that are new to this, accept the fact that this is always going to be changing, and just by putting things to paper initially will help start that process, but it should never be done, and it will continue to be clarified. And I've been coaching on and off with Building Champions, and I've been able to clarify it further over the years, and it has changed, but ultimately, I boil it down to a sentence to where I could tell my kids or my friends and family, if they ask me, what do you do? I mean, I literally wake up every day looking to have a positive impact in the lives of our customers, our employees, our business partners, and our communities. And it sounds fluff. It sounds a little bit on the surface, but there was a lot of work and a lot of hours put into articulating and choosing the right words. So I just encourage you to don't be afraid to put these thoughts to paper and continue to tweak them.
That's great leadership, brother. And if you don't mind, would you mind sharing what you just said in Facebook as inspiration for other folks that are, trying to get clear on who they are and why they're here?
Sure thing.
Right on. Todd, back to you, brother.
All right, so any other comments from anyone on the values that you picked through the values assessment, or just through how this has impacted you personally or professionally, before we keep going down the road of other topics? All right, so that was great interaction. Again, the whole goal here is just keep jumping up. You kind of heard a little bit of it. We're not going to be able to, it's not going to be a problem if we step on each other a little bit. We'll all get our time to talk. And so what Lori had talked about was our power of focus, and we definitely heard some people talking about how the earlier modules kind of address the social media addiction, the multitasking, the things that I think so many people struggle with, day in and day out. And Lori's question was around, how are you focusing and saying yes to the good while sometimes giving up the great? Does anybody have any comments on that might be of help to the group? How about Dave Gallegos? I know you always have lots to say with your experience with Darren and Insane Productivity.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and you're kind of getting into Module 8, because he talks in depth on Module 8 about how no is the master skill of success, saying no to the wrong things, or to the right things, and saying yes to the, not saying yes to the wrong things, right? So it's a challenge, because we always think that we're going to miss. I've struggled with this my whole life. It's saying I'm afraid I'm going to miss something, and so it's just but having spent more time in this system, and spending more time learning on establishing these values make a big, it's a big part of it, right? So you start to realize what's more important to you. One of the exercises that you go through in Module 7 is designing the life that you want. And a really powerful way to do that is talking about what, making sure you don't end up with something you didn't want, which is a really powerful, that's a really powerful exercise to go to. Sitting down and writing down what you don't want in your business is a really good way. It was a great way for me to figure out what I did want, because you think you want everything, And you know, you want all the volume, you want all the business, you want all the, and you just, so that's a really healthy exercise to go through. And again, it's part of Module 7, so I know we're kind of jumping around, but the that was something that I found really helpful. Because in establishing what I knew I didn't want, you kind of figure out your values, right? But by eliminating the things in your life that you don't want to deal with. My dad gives me a hard time about this all the time, but honestly, one of the things that I wrote down a long time ago is like, I don't want to have to wear a tie to work. And that sounds stupid, but I hated it. I had a job at a grocery store, King Soopers here in Denver, and you had to wear a tie, and I freaking hated it. And I was sacking groceries. And my dad wore a tie his whole life, and he gives me a hard time about it now. He's like, I can't believe you can make as much money as you do, and you dress in jeans pretty much every day. Like, hey, Dad, it was a plan. So anyway, it's just a good, it's a way to back into figuring out, you know, what's most important.
That's, I love it. I love it. Anyone else have any way that you guys are filtering out what you say yes to and what you say no to?
Michelle here.
Jump in.
Can you hear me? Okay. So what one of the things that I look for now is, and I posted this on Facebook, is I look for people, I look for team members, I look for realtors, I look for clients that complement me and not complicate me. And it's huge for me, and that has really helped me define who I want to work with and when I can say no.
I love it, right? Being crystal clear on that. And I think that that's what, you know, as what Dave kind of alluded to, as you continue to go through this, I mean, Darren's kind of forcing us down this funnel, right? Taking a lot and then trying to narrow it down into, and ultimately, I love that, Michelle. I mean, you want to, it's easy to say, when you're crystal clear on who it is you want to work with, it's easy to say no to those who aren't. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? How about you, Troy? Haven't heard your voice yet today.
Hey, you busted me. Hey, no, seriously. I know, I need to get a good eye on that. But hold on, sorry about that. I'm actually, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. I think we lost you, Troy. Give you one more moment to jump in. Never a good comment. You busted me. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Todd. If we're waiting for him, there was a quote from Sarah Middleton when I interviewed her, and I was just at the Fairway Sales Rally, which was awesome. But she has this quote: "Each day you choose bitter or better." So you know, it's just first of all, it's great wisdom, great quote, and then it's catchy and easy to remember. And Michelle Town, I like. What was your quote again? I want to write that down. You said it was on Facebook, but I didn't see it. What was that quote? Because it is so true, and it was also really catchy and easy to remember.
Hey, Todd, it's Troy.
I'm sorry.
Hey, you guys can hear me now?
Yeah, we'll let Troy go, Michelle, and then we'll bring you back
sorry
in.
About that,
go
Michelle.
ahead, Troy.
I accidentally hit mute. It's like, but no, with me, I'm having trouble with going through this life plan, going through the assessment of what I want my life to look like in 2017. Really opened my eyes because I started working on my plan, and then listening to that, how we need to have our life be the focus and not the business, really making me go back and rethink how I want to work, because I've always been focus driven on, like everyone else, like on the business side being, and then the life being the little circle, like Darren saying he used to be. So it's really, so I'm looking forward to that, diving into more, but it's difficult because I've always tried to block my personal feelings out of the business at the same time.
Yeah, this is Jen. You know, Jim Rohn has a quote about this, and I'm sure that's where, you know, you were bringing this up, and I don't know if you attended the session that everyone's talking about, but you know, he says that if you'll develop your plan around your life. Your business will be developed around, your business can be developed later, in so many words, and I'm paraphrasing. But one thing this brings to mind is Les Brown has a quote that I use almost every training session that I do with people, which is, if you'll do what is easy, life will be hard. But if you do what is hard first, your life will be easy. And what we're going through is doing the hard thing first so that we can have this easy life later on. And that's why it's so tough for us to go through this, and why we keep re-emphasizing and driving in with everyone, please do not listen to these modules and read them once and write down and fill in the blanks. You know, and if you don't have the time to complete the exercises that Darren has at the end, or write down 10 things or 3 things, carve out the time to do it, because you know, that's what in our industry is just, it's habitual for that. Let's just do whatever's easy and then life will be hard. And then we wonder why, right? And so I really use that Les Brown quote consistently. It's like, it's just too easy to just listen to the stuff and fill in the blanks. It's easy. It's really hard to dig deep.
Yeah. This is Troy again. Hey, yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. I actually went through every module from last week from Module 1 on and redid it, and I new notes, and I actually had more epiphanies than before, because if you don't break it out of that, what's our mental comfort zone, we can't go to the next level. We're going to always keep on going to the easy thing. We're not, and if we want to break out, we have to do what's hard and do what we don't want to do right now for our future, not only for our business, but also for our family too.
And our sanity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sanity's good. Sanity's a good thing. Hey, Michelle, you do us the honor of giving us your quote one more time that Dave was asking for.
I would tell from a friend that I look for people, clients, referral partners that complement me and not complicate me.
Love it. I mean, I just think that sounds great. I also love what you said, Troy, about doing it over and over again. I won't call the person out because it's someone very close to me in life, but I was talking to a group of folks who were going through insane productivity about it, and I asked him a question, and I saw the blank look on his face, which told me that while the whole group was almost done, he had actually gotten through the first couple of modules. He didn't actually admit which one he quit on, but seemed like it was module 2 or 3. So I certainly applaud those of you who have been on this call since Dave started them a few weeks ago, and welcome and encourage those of you who are just getting on to stay with it, because you know, there's definitely going to be a lot of great ideas that go through this group. Anyone else have any other comments on that power of focus, the saying no, how you're filtering out and making good decisions going forward?
Hey, Todd.
So let's jump in.
How you doing? So, you know, it's so funny. I'm listening to her say that I want to work with people that compliment me and don't complicate me. And about a month and a half ago, I had a client that called, and I had taken him out of my contacts. So when the call came in, I didn't know who it was, because the guy was such a pain in the neck to work with. And he continues to call and call and call and call. So I finally blocked him so he would just, you know, go away. And then I realized that his personality, my personality, it just wasn't going to work. So I referred him to another loan officer here in the office to go ahead and handle his case. And it's amazing how it's just a great, you know, fit. They work together quite well. And yet this guy just sucked the life out of me. So firing a client is a super awesome thing to be able to do, and in my case I was able to match him up with someone, and so the company still gets the business.
This is Jen. That just reminded me of something else. If you haven't read the book, The Energy Bus, can you guys help me? It's John, J-O-N.
John Gordon.
Thank you. John Gordon, thank you. I couldn't remember the last name. The Energy Bus. I think if you if you get a chance, it's a pretty simple read. It might just drive this in a little bit deeper on assessing the people who compliment versus not compliment you. Because you just made mention that this guy just sucked the hair out of you, right? That's what the vampires do. You don't want vampires on your energy bus, because that's what they do.
And
so you might want to read that.
I think it's a perfect example of saying no to the wrong people, and I applaud you for that, because, again, most people just want the deal, and they're willing to work outside of that. You know, there's always those old quotes of there's plenty of people out there who will do business my way, so I don't have to do business with people who won't. And so the point of the exercises that Darren's putting us all through is to help us identify those filters, because once you've identified them, it's a lot easier, because until you know who it is that you won't work with, until you've narrowed in who it is you want to work with, oftentimes we take on that client and then end up regretting it a whole lot later.
Yeah.
So we also have questions about building teams, and that seems to be kind of a common discussion. We've had it a number of times on the call, and we kind of jumped in at the very end, sort of talking about that, right? Is how people are using these type of techniques. It was certainly around the question that was posted in there by Scott, asking, who is actually doing these things. I saw Michael Barnes. You made a comment in there. You might jumping in and talking about how you're using your assistant to help you stay focused on the activities that you should be doing.
It's delegation is really not that hard to do. For me, focus is super hard for me. I actually have ADHD, and so when I'm sitting here and I'm on this call and I'm trying so darn hard to just be present, every once in a while something will pop up, and so I realize, I just need to turn off, close out my Outlook and everything else, and be present. That's the focus part. But as far as the assistants go, what I've been able to do, thanks to Building Champions, actually, I've been able to identify the things that I hate and I suck at, and unfortunately I've been able to hire people to do those specific tasks. So I have two great assistants that take care of me personally and professionally, and walk behind me with a wide broom, and it's working.
A wide broom, I like that. And that's, I think that's the ultimate filter, right? What is it, certainly anything that you dislike, right? If you really hate doing it, you shouldn't be doing it, and then alternatively, right, if you suck at it, there's always out there. It's amazing how many people out there are good at the things that I'm not good at. And go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's just it. And I don't mean to disrespect a soul, but there is someone out there that absolutely loves to do something that I don't even understand. It blows my mind how Kristen, for instance, is so flippin' good at certain admin tasks that I'll just sit here and it'll take me an hour and a half because I find something else to do every 2 seconds, and yet in 10 minutes she's got it done, and for some reason I wasn't able to let it go. And just sit back and breathe and move on.
Yeah, that's huge. Who else here has been using an assistant effectively, and can talk about what kind of tasks you've had them do versus what you've kept on your own plate?
Yeah, this is Mark Thompson.
All right, Mark, jump in.
Yeah, and I've been, I've gone through probably about 5 or 6 different assistants over the years, and I have to say that for the last 2 years, through trials and tribulations, what we really found to be the best, and how Jeff and I are working on it, we're constantly working together, is realizing that he has specific jobs that he's good at, that he does, and I have specific jobs that I do, that I'm good at. And we've actually created 4 stages for a sales transaction: the kind of before unit, the during unit, and I guess it's 3 stages in the after unit. And one of the things we realize is that I'm responsible for a lot of the before units. He's responsible for the during units. We have check-in points where we meet, for 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, at least twice a week, to find out how our transactions are going. I have a playbook that we use. He has a playbook that he uses, so we can hold each other accountable. I think accountability is crucial. I need to have someone to hold me accountable. I, too, am distracted easily by shiny objects. And I, too, am having challenge to just stay focused on this and not look at my email, but everything's turned off except for this. So I think once you establish those boundaries, I'm finding that it's incredibly helpful. And I'm still struggling to define it more, but it keeps getting stronger every month.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think the key things I heard in there is that they've got a written playbook and they're crystal clear on who's responsible for what. Because typically what I find is that once you're in a position where you can actually afford to hire, right? Because that's always the first hurdle is, can I afford it? And, one of the modules, Dave's got a better memory than me, so he probably could tell me which module, but talks through hourly rate. But ultimately, you've got to be able to afford it. But then typically I find people who have struggled with the control side of it, it's because they haven't been clear in the job description and what the expectations are, and then that accountability piece. So I love that. Who else here has experience with the delegation piece that can be of help to the group?
Todd, this is Dave Gallegos. The thing about this team thing, and we have focused here on just helping our originators build teams, because we know that eventually that our goal is to not have as many loan officers as I can get. I want to go really deep with the loan officers that we have, and you've got to find the right people who want to build that kind of team. But one of the things that everybody kind of knows who Amy Tierce is. We're old friends, and something that Amy Tierce said to me once really resonated. She said that most loan officers, the best producers, are really so ill-equipped to build teams. It's a challenge for them because their personalities. And I sat and I thought about that. It's like, well, why is that, and what can we do about it? And one of the things that we came to is that their ability, my guys, the people on my staff that are trying to build teams, and this goes for anyone, is that it's no different than in any business. Dave Savage can speak to this. I'm sure Todd can speak to this. Any of the people that have developed teams. Everything, your success at building a team is going to come down to your talent as a leader. And we have just in the last year, that's all we have been focusing on with our team leaders, with the guys that are running teams, is developing their leadership skills. It is a frickin' challenge. And teaching people to communicate, how to communicate, because I hear what I can't remember who said it. There's like the comment, because I've heard this comment so many times. Like, I've been through so many assistants, because it's a common theme, and so. And not that every assistant that you hire should have been a success. That's not true either. But we have found that we've gotten so much mileage out of really focusing on developing these team leaders as leaders, and developing their leadership skills. I think it's John Maxwell who said, everything rises and falls on leadership. I have really found that to be true. And then everything else falls into place. Having the written playbook, you can't do it without a written playbook, of course. But that team leader is usually a driver. He's ambitious, he's impatient, he has all, and those skills are not the skills that you need for running a team. And so it's just something that we've discovered that has been really impactful. And I would encourage everyone, if that's your goal, then begin to focus on developing yourself as a leader.
Awesome, love it. I see Bliss Sawyer's got her hand up. Bliss, what's going on? Bliss, are you there? All right, well, I'll call back on Bliss in a minute.
Yeah. So this is Jen. I just wanted to chirp in on a couple things. Going back to what Michael was just talking about, the key to this, and I have a fairly large team. We're closing 20 plus loans a month. I have a fairly large team. I work 4 days a week. I do what I'm best at, period. End of story. I'll jump in if I have to, because there's nothing beneath me. But you have to not have a playbook, but there has to be very deep tranches or deep lanes within them, so it's very clear that there's no overflow and overstepping by each individual. So the key there would be the before, during, and after, making sure that the tranches are deep enough that no one can go over those. And I break my team out into finder, minder, and grinder. Those are the three things that I do with mine. I'm a finder. I do everything that's involved with finding business and getting business in. My minders babysit the business. That's the ops side of things. And my grinders are my marketing people and putting my little packages together and making sure that when I show up at a presentation or a training session, I just walk in. Everything's set up, everything's all handed out. So for me, it has always been finder, minder, and grinder, and identifying, you know, whose role is this? This task that I'm doing today, could this be done by a minder or a grinder rather than me as a finder? Is this really the best use of my time? And then Dave, getting to your comment about education, you know, and I've been coaching now for 18 years, coaching loan officers and realtors in lending. Lending in all the business. The biggest thing is that you know, a great plumber cannot necessarily be a great owner of a plumbing company. And that's what you're talking about, is that great loan officers, if they're not trained properly on management and leadership, don't necessarily become the best leaders. And so the thought that you had said, Michael, about, you know, you went through many assistants, and I'm not picking on you, believe me, I'm not, but I hear that a lot too, and it's usually that we hired the wrong one, or we hired someone with the expectation that they were going to, you know, solve all our problems without identifying, you know, exactly what they are. So there's something called situational leadership that I can just throw out there. I actually did a training session. It's on YouTube. It's on my channel on YouTube. You can listen to it. I did a whole session, an hour-long session on situational leadership and DISC profiling. So I use those on a daily basis to help my team and how I work with my team. Those are real key factors. We have a lot of personalities on this call. Most of us are, you know, go-getters as loan officers, so we're a high D and a high I. We just want the bottom line, get it done, don't want to hear any details. But we have to remember when we're communicating with the people that do the things we don't like, that we have to slow down, take our foot off the gas, give them the details they need in order for us to be successful. So you want to slow down to speed up. And so I would just encourage everyone, if you want to start being a team leader, is learn about situational leadership, learn about DISC profiling, learn about fascination advantages. There's a lot of tools out there for you to educate yourself on leadership. So hopefully that helps.
That's great, Jen. You're right. I'm reminded when you said that of E-Myth, right? In the E-Myth, yeah, it talks about how I was a really good producing loan officer as an individual producing loan officer, and then I opened a mortgage company thinking, great, I'm going to open a mortgage company and keep all the money. Yeah, that doesn't happen. And so it in no way prepared me for running a company, just like being a good loan officer in no way prepares you to run a team. It's two different skill sets, and so you're exactly right. But you can get good at it. It doesn't mean at the expense of being a good originator. It doesn't have to be that. So, but it's really just getting that focus. And now I want to go see that video you did. So thank you.
There we go. Looks like we got Bliss unmuted. Bliss, so love to hear what you've got to say.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. So I love this conversation because it's actually the primary reason I went into Insane Productivity is because of my vision of having a team and creating that. And what I found, of course, with most loan officers that are successful is that we all have ADD, ADHD to some extent. It's part of what makes us good at being salespeople, and training ourselves to be detail-oriented can be hard. But what I have found is that I capture my ideas somewhere. I personally use Google Docs for everything, or Evernote. I just capture them somewhere, and then my assistant that's been with me now for I think just about a month, I hired her because of her skills to be detail-oriented, but as you know, silver lining, she actually likes the big picture. So she took my ideas, she created this great spreadsheet of right now ideas, you know, in the next 3 months and in the next year, and then she created a dream board or a dream category, and you know, she put stuff on there for me. She wants to get me on the local news station to talk about you know, some different things affecting our housing industry, and that never even crossed my mind. So I think having people that complement you, yes, as far as being detail-oriented if you're not, but it's really important to get someone that has a vision and catches on to your excitement and your passion and helps you then make your vision even better and implement those things. And so, yeah, I'm super excited for all this, and I appreciate everyone's input on the whole team concept.
Awesome. No, I love it. And I think and that was one of your big things you had posted to Facebook, that you kind of overcame the hesitancy to hire an assistant, right?
Exactly.
And so any pitfalls you found, or any great suggestions for the group on your process for hiring?
She's not my first assistant. Like you know, whoever was just speaking was talking about that. A lot of us go through a couple of assistants. And actually, I'll tell you how I did it. I put a thing on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for an assistant. Experience not necessary, because in my mind, if you have mortgage experience and you're looking for a job right now, there's probably something wrong with you. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's true. If you're good at what you do, you're being paid well, and you're going to stay where you're at probably. It's hard to find people with experience. So I'd rather train someone the way I want. And then, you know, I just made a little joke about me being the boss, and then I started getting people responding, and I actually had a very high-producing real estate agent that sends me about 25% of his business refer his sister-in-law, and that's who I ended up hiring. And so not only do I get her, he's even told me, now you get me too. And so it was just kind of a win-win. And, you know, and I've learned through past experiences what I need to be better at as far as being upfront with, hey, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and this is why I need you. And I need you to be okay with the minutia, because I'm going to give you stuff that's going to bore you. But that's why I'm hiring you. Part of this is going to be fun. Part of it's going to be exciting. We're going to build something. But you're also going to be doing some detail stuff, and I want to make sure you're okay, because that's why I've lost people in the past, is they got tired of the data entry and the writing thank you notes. So I tried to be more upfront with what all they were doing and being realistic.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So we've got just a few minutes left. Dave's goal is always to make sure that we end this call on time out of respect for everybody's time. And so normally I give an action plan for what the homework is in the current module, but since we've got people at both ends of the spectrum, I'll kind of talk through where I think most people are right now. So those of you in Module 7, it's kind of the next step after doing the values assessment last time is going and looking at the completing your goals supplement, which is great. So again, we're getting more specific now on what it is that we're looking for. And so you guys are in for a treat in Module 7. And then Module 3, Darren still got you guys as you go into that module looking at behaviors, looking at habits that you want to change, and making a list of the things that you won't tolerate. What I loved about that is it really ties in with some of the things we heard today about people that some of our members here aren't going to tolerate. So we'll definitely make sure we have discussions around those topics next week. We're continuing to see great engagement on the Facebook page. Those of you who haven't been invited to that group, you should all be there. If you haven't been, just reach out to support at Mortgage Coach, and they'll make sure that you're in our secret Facebook group. Continue to engage in there. I think that that's really a great way for us to grow, and then we'll look to continue to get more of you involved in this call going forward next week. So as you guys think of ideas that you would love to have this group discuss, this group is about you, then go ahead and start posting that in there, and have a great week. Get a little more insane productivity going, and we look forward to talking to you all next week.
Okay, thanks for everything.
Take care, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks, Dave.
Marcy.